Hi there, welcome to Social Robotics Talk. And in today's lecture, we are going to learn about services in ROS2. In the previous lecture, we learned about what nodes are in ROS2, and we also mentioned that for nodes to communicate with each other, there are three different ways that are present in ROS. One is through topics, which we covered previously, and second one is services, and third one is actions. In the topics, as we mentioned in the previous lecture, you have a one-way communication pattern where one node is continuously publishing some data to a certain topic, and other nodes that want that specific data, they can subscribe to a specific topic. So it's a publish subscribe mechanism. Services that we are going to study today is a server client type of communication where you have one node that acts as a server of a service, and other nodes can act as client, and they can talk to the service, they can talk to the server to perform some service. Just to give you a simple example, let's say you have a service defined in a certain node, and that service basically adds two numbers. So other nodes actually, you can have more than one client. Other nodes can basically say these are two numbers that I want to get the sum of. So then the client node will just send these two numbers to the server node, and then the server node will respond back with the sum of those two numbers. So that's a simple server client pattern that we have in services. Actually, this is a very good pictorial representation of what's really happening. So this is entire thing is a server client mechanism. So you have one node where you have the server defined for a particular service, and then you have another node where you have a client, and then this client is going to send a request to the service to perform some whatever action that service is supposed to do, and then the server responds back. And this is just showing you that you can have more than one client, but you can only have one server for a particular service. So now we understand the basics, and we are going to understand what we can do with the services in ROS2. As always, if you are not sure what commands to use, ROS2 help is the best way to understand or to get an idea. So if you just go here and maybe we look at all the commands that are related to service. So I'm just going to say ROS2 service and then help. So from here we can see that there are all of these four things that you can do with services. First, most importantly, you can call a service or use a service. Then second, you can use this command called find if you just want to find a list of services that are active in the system at any given time. If you want to know the type, if you want to find the list of services that are of a particular type, you can use this command. Then the list command, which we saw in the case of previous tutorial as well, where we use the list command to find to get us a list of running nodes or list of parameters. Similarly, you can use the list command. And then type finally is so you have services. Each service is going to have some specific type. So if you want to know what's the type, and then you can use this command. Okay, now let's actually use these command lines. So first we are going to start two nodes. We are going to again work with the TurtleSim package, and we installed the TurtleSim package in the previous tutorial. So I encourage you to install that first if you haven't done so. So here we have already installed. So I'm going to run two nodes. First node is where I just bring up the simulator and the second node is where I'm able to control the turtle in the simulator through a keyboard. So ROS2 run, let's start a node. ROS2 run, turtle sim is the name of the package, and then we are going to start an executable, or in other words, node in the executable called turtle sim node, and then they should bring up a simulator. Okay, start another terminal, and then I'm going to start another node. ROS2 run turtle sim turtle tally op key. Okay, so now we have two executables running, and then if you want to know what nodes are running, if you want to get the names of the nodes, basically you can just use that list command. ROS2, this was done in the previous tutorial, so you already know this. So ROS2 node list, so these are the two nodes that are running, and again, nodes are part of the executable. Okay, so now first thing is I want to get a list of all the services that are active, that are available for me to use. So those two all the services that we are going to get by using this list are actually defined in either of these two nodes. So I'm going to say ROS2 service, and then I'm going to get a list. Okay, so I get a list of services, and these are all the services that belong to these two nodes. One thing that we can notice here is that there are these services with parameters in their name, such as describe parameters, get parameter types, all of those. And we can see that these services, they belong to a node called TallyUpTurtle, one of the nodes here. And also same services are defined for the second node, which is the turtle sim. So what you need to know about these is that there are some services that are defined as default for every node. Whenever you instantiate a node, these services will be defined automatically. So these are infrastructure services, and we can ignore them for now. So let's just focus on the other services, such as clear, kill, reset, spawn. So now if I want to use one of these services, in other words, if I want to call a service, then I first need to know what is the syntax. So I'm going to use this command called call to call a service, but obviously I need to first know what kind of syntax do I need to use this call command. So what we'll do is, first we will try to understand more about the syntax by again using ROS2 help service call, and I'm going to say H. It's going to tell me exactly what I need in order to use this command called call. Alright, so here we see, in order to call a service, I need to give the service name, obvious. I need to also tell what is the type of the service, and then I need to give the value. What do you mean by that? So as we mentioned previously, for example, for a simple service where, let's say, a service does the summation of two numbers. Now the client must provide those two numbers for the service to actually do its function. So that's what we mean by values. Okay, so we need to know the service name, service type, and the value. So if we want to maybe test one of these services, let's say spawn. So by just the definition of the service, we can make an intelligent guess that spawn means that we can use this service to spawn a new turtle, or to bring up a new turtle in this window. So I know the name of the service, but I also need to know the type of the service, and then I also need to supply the values. So the trick here is, in order to get the type of the service, you can either use this command called type. So basically you can say ROS2 service type, and then you can say spawn. And then if you type this, then this will give you the type of the service as we saw here. So this is the type. Another trick is, we can also use this command called ROS2 service list, and if you use -t, it will also give you the type of all the services along with the list. So let's see here. So now this is very useful because you have a list of all the services that are actively available, and then these are their types. So for the spawn, the type is this. So these are two pieces of information that we need to call a service. The third thing that we need is the values. So in order to know what kind of values we need to pass, we need to understand a little bit more of the structure of data that this service can take. So for that, we will use a command called ROS2 interface show, and then I'm going to just give this type here. I believe that's all you need, but if not, we can always use the help to understand a little bit more how to use this interface show command. But let's see. Okay, so all we needed was just a type. So we can see here, for this type, you need to supply the x value, the y value, and theta. So basically, when you spawn a turtle, when you use this service called spawn to bring up a new turtle, you can give the location where you want this turtle to be in this simulation. So now we have all pieces of information in order to call a service. So you have the name, you have the type, and then you have the value. Actually, one important thing before we jump into calling this is, here it says when you call a service, you have to have a certain format. So in this case it says that you have to use a YAML format, and that's very important. Otherwise, you will not be able to successfully call a service. Okay, so let's call a service ROS2 service call, and then spawn, and then I need the type. The type for the spawn is turtleSimServe spawn, so I'm gonna give that, and then I need to supply the values. So values have to be in this specific format. So I need x, y, and theta. So our x is, let's just say 2, and y is, let's just say 2, and then theta is, let's say 0.5, just any values that you want, and then I'm going to close that. Very important that this space is also very important. If you don't give that space, you will not be able to successfully call your service. Okay, so now I have everything, and if I press enter, I should be able to see a turtle spawned in this window. Oh, I had a spelling mistake. It's actually theta, THETA. Alright, so we got a turtle here. So we have successfully spawned the service. If you want to now use another service, we will go through the same procedure. So let's try another service from the list. So another service that you have here is, maybe let's just use kill. So kill, again, intelligent guess. Kill will probably kill one of these turtles. It will clear the turtle from the window. Okay, all right. So let's just go through the same process again. So we need to do ROS2 service and then call. So this time we are using a service called kill, and we also know what is the type of the service. So you can paste that. Then the third thing was to pass a value. Now, again, we don't know what value to pass. So first we need to understand the value that this service needs. So for that, we will use this interface show, and then we can put the type here, paste. Okay, and it just says it just needs a string. That means you just need to give the name of the turtle. So in this case, you have two turtles. This turtle is called turtle 1, as we can see from here, and this turtle is probably called turtle 2, but if you want to be really sure, we can check that. So let's just run the same command again, and then this will give us a list of all the services. As you can see, some are turtle 1, some are turtle 2. So this is actually called turtle 2. So now let's call this service service call kill, and then it's of this type. Okay, and then you need to give the name space, and it's called turtle 2. Okay, there you go. So it killed the turtle. So that's really all to it. When you want to call a service, you basically need to know a few things. You need to know the name of the service, you need to know the type of the service, and then you also need to know what value to pass when you are calling a service. Now, if this seems too cumbersome, there's actually a easier way to call a service. So let me just clear this out, and I will just keep this list here for now. There's actually a GUI. I don't remember if we mentioned about this GUI in the previous tutorial. If not, I'm just going to mention it again. So there's a GUI called RQT. So first you have to install the package to actually use that GUI, and you can install the package basically by going here in the tutorials. The first tutorial that they have here, they tell you exactly what package to install in order to use this GUI. So basically this is the packet. This is the package that you need to install in order to use this GUI called RQT. In my case, I have the package installed, so I'm just going to open up that GUI by typing RQT. Okay, so you have this GUI. Your interface might look a little differently. So in order for our tutorial, what's important is we want to know how to call a service using this GUI. So we can go in here, plugins, and you will see a service, and then you will see a service caller, and you can just open that up. So you will have this window. In this window, you will actually see all the same services that you see here on the list in the terminal. So all these services you will see are available in this drop down menu. So similar to how we used the command line to call a service, you can also use this to call a service. So let's say we call the same service, which was to spawn. a turtle. So as we saw before, you need to supply xyz, xy theta, and then I'm gonna say again 2, maybe 1, and then here the name of the string. You can actually give the name of the turtle, which we didn't do in the previous one, but you could have done that. You could have supplied the name as well. So let's just say my turtle is the name, and then I simply have to say call the service, and here you go. So you got the service here. Then same thing, if you want to use another service such as kill, you just have to do that, and then you have to tell which turtle to kill, so you have to give its name. So in this case, let's just say maybe I want to kill the turtle 1, which is this, and then I'll just call it, and it kills the turtle. And that's pretty much it. So this was just a tutorial to get familiar with what services are and how to call a service in ROS. In the future videos, when we go into more advanced topics, we will actually be having tutorials on how to write a service and more details, more technical details. So for today's video, that's all. And in the next lecture, in the upcoming lecture, we are going to learn about actions. Actions are a third way to have communication between nodes. So far, topics was one, and then today we learned about services. In the next lecture, we're going to learn about actions, which are third way to have communication between the nodes. That's all for today's video, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Bye.